Did you hear the other night?
Feels good in here.
Okay.
I just don't wanna go anywhere without air conditioning.
It's comfortable.
I think we're about to
My
start.
electric bill this month's gonna be through the roof because my air conditioner,
Bill's gonna be
my air
atrocious.
conditioner is just going nonstop.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Okay.
You mean bang the gavel?
It's tapping the gavel.
Well, I don't want to do it.
We're ready to get started, I'll go ahead. Good evening, all of you. Welcome to our town hall. We're glad you're here in person, and we're glad for everyone that's joining us online as well. So we'll be going through just some updates for the last quarter or so. I do want to allow staff and our commission to introduce themselves. So my name is Keely Morey. I'm the Chief Communications Officer.
Matthew Landry, City Commissioner.
Jeff Parsons, City Commissioner.
And I'm Rusty Varnado, the city manager.
Steve Carroll, I work special project for the city.
Brad Beer, Assistant City Manager.
Alicia Hidalgo, City Clerk.
All right. So we'll again touch on some different project updates that we have. We're going to have an opportunity for questions and discussion. And then we are going to end our session today with a listening session on railroad crossings, which I know is a very, very large topic to cover. But we want to be able to get input from the community and be able to discuss the project further. So we'll end with that today. So in terms of some of our projects that we've completed this quarter, so we did adopt a new slogan. You may have noticed our logo is slightly different. We were known for the longest time as Liberal, the Crossroads of Commerce. As we've continued to reflect on what our community identity is and where we come from, we did identify the slogan from generosity to prosperity. That continued to float around in the community for about a year or so, and we said, all right, it's time. We felt that we were in the right place to adopt that new slogan. And so while we won't be doing a massive change in all of our logos that you see, we will be doing a gradual change and shifting from our old logo to our new one with our new slogan on it. We did also launch liberalgolf.com, allowed everyone to go on and be able to sign in to book tee times, to be able to manage their membership, to view different events. And so this is one that is a site-specific website dedicated solely to our golf course. And so you're welcome to go check that out. We've got information on classes, events, how to get registered and signed up. And so we encourage you to go take a look at that. We did approve an RHID over the course of this last spring. And we did award a bid recently to OC Quality Homes to be able to start working on the infrastructure for an RHID project that's going to be located in South Liberal. If you're familiar with where Harold Boulevard is, it's going to be south of the movie theaters and Southgate Mall and our big R Standard Supply, and just on the other side of Larrabee Road. So there will be an addition there. You're going to start to see dirt work. We're going to have all of our city infrastructure. That's the part that we've invested. Normally developers would be going in and they would be building streets. They would be building the infrastructure, and then they'd be building the homes as well. And so for us to be able to go in, do an RHID, and allow us to help with that upfront cost of the infrastructure, we will then collect that back over time. And that's just one way that we've been able to help to really be able to push forward on some of the housing projects that we know are greatly needed in the community. Some of the structures in this edition are going to be multifamily homes, and so that's something that we will know will meet a lot of needs for the community. So overall, just looking at across our different housing projects, we're looking at 300 to 400 homes or residences in the pipeline, which is more than I think we've probably ever had at one point in time. So we continue to focus on that. We continue to hear, yes, we need housing, and so we're glad to be moving forward on a couple of these projects. The Doll Holiday Estates, we did also do a replat there They were having difficulty with the street layout as it was because it was tying into Country Estates or Highway 83. KDOT didn't necessarily want to see that extra traffic and the stopping on that roadway. And so we did work with them to be able to do a replat. So if you're familiar with where Larry Street is, we're going to be able to continue to have those developers work forward on housing because we have some different replatted streets there. We did also work on a new animal control ordinance, which we've discussed a lot with the community over time. This ordinance would require, starting in January 2025, for every cat and dog that's older than 6 months old to have annual registration so we know who that pet belongs to, what their vaccination status is, and it's really about being able to protect the health of the pet, but also individuals in our community who are out walking around and don't want to come into conflict with a stray animal that they're not sure is vaccinated. It's very much a safety thing, but it is also, again, good for the pets because it allows us to be able to reunite them with their owners much faster. And stop me at any time if you have a question on any of those things. Some other projects that we've completed, just making things safer for the community. We did do some AED installation. Those are the just kind of walk through a vest that you can put on someone if they are experiencing cardiac arrest to be able to help assist them until paramedics arrive. So any of our kind of our more public areas, we have them here at the rec, we have it at City Hall, the Air Museum, and some other locations. Staff have been trained in how to use those, and so it's just an extra layer of comfort for individuals who are visiting our facilities. Couple of things that we've done just to really kind of hone in on what it is that we do and do what we do better than we do now. So our regional drug task force was formed between the Liberal Police Department, Seward County Sheriff's Office, and the Haskell County Sheriff's Office this last spring. And that's intended to be able to help those agencies work across their different jurisdictions to work on cases that do cross those county lines and are outside of city limits. And so they had already been working together, obviously, but this really cleared the pathway to make that a lot easier for our investigators to be able to make sure that we're doing everything we can to really combat the drug issues that can be seen in communities like ours. So we're thankful for that partnership. Our CFO and our new finance director worked on finance and purchasing policies. There had been some old stuff that wasn't quite working for the way that we needed it to. Some of it was being followed. It wasn't quite clear what our purchasing steps were, and so we put that into writing. We got everything collected and put forth policies that have since been shared with our commission, as well as our department managers, to make sure that we're going about things in the right way in terms of what we are purchasing. So again, just an added layer there for our processes to make things easier and more transparent to understand. We did also create a language access plan. That's something that we had been serving the community. We had been doing translation and working with the community to make sure we were trying to, really be able to add another layer of clear communication with them. But for those who needed language translation, who maybe had other, hearing disabilities as well as visual disabilities, we wanted to make sure that we had everything accessible to them. So we have a translation service available, as well as some other resources that we've made available at City Hall to be able to help communicate with individuals in our community. We did also, I don't know if anyone was able to catch it, but we did do a primetime documentary this last June. It aired on, it was Fox Business Network, and that was a viewpoint segment in which we did have Commissioner Jeanette Vasquez. She helped to get that all set up. She did an excellent job really highlighting our community, talking about what it's like to live here in Liberal, and really just highlighting the asset and the resources that we have here to be able to help with recruitment as well as retention of our residents. And so with that, we had an ad campaign that was sent out throughout this region just to be able to share what our name was, who we are, and what opportunities are here in Liberal. So that has really helped us as we work forward with our economic development group to be able to put together some messaging clearly around who it is that we are and why you would want to come and stay in our community. some other projects that we have in progress currently.
So Keely, just real quick, go
Yes.
back to the first slide, please. One more. So on the new slogan, we want to take just a second and thank Pastor Rex Petty from Tabernacle, Faith Tabernacle. He found a verse that he thought was appropriate to our community. He brought it to the commissioner's attention, did a very well thought out presentation, and it really did match strives to be. The has than we probably had in 10 expand our we're going to add an additional 5 because we're just selling out every single weekend, and we don't even go out on the weekend because it's so busy because we're getting so many walk-ins. We were really excited that the annual memberships went up, but it really kind of gave us a little bit of fright because we thought that the green fees would go down, and we haven't seen that. The green fees have risen as well as the annual memberships. That's a direct correlation to the professionalism in the clubhouse, the services offered, and then the condition of the course that we've seen this summer, which is so much better than it was before. And then the 2 housing things. Huge thank you to the Ortuños for making the investment, and for Mr. Edwards at G&G for his utter patience with the city. We've drugged that man around for probably 3 years. Easily 3 years, and he has stuck with it with the project to bring attainable housing to Liberal. I saw his first one listed a few weeks ago, and it was under the $200,000 price point, which is the only new construction, at least since I've been here, that has been below that $200,000 threshold. And the animal control ordinance got a lot of flack, but to be honest with you, we only changed about 3 things, and most of it was stuff we haven't been enforcing. So it wasn't as drastic a change as some people thought it was. It was just some apathy on our part. Go to the next one. I think that the Regional Drug Task Force is a big deal. If Chief Pinkston was here, he could talk more on that, but just our overall collaboration with Dodge Garden has improved greatly in the last 2 years, and this is just another manifestation of that. The finance and purchasing policies, entirely too much authority was vested in the city manager position. Almost, if you go through our personnel policies and our finance policies, just about at the end of almost every paragraph, it said waiverable by city manager, which is very dangerous, especially when you're dealing with public money. A very dangerous practice to have is to put that much spending authority in one person's hands. So we changed it so it's structured and it's responsible and it's accountable. The language access plan came about because of an accident that occurred on a property. They were Spanish speakers. They didn't understand the warning signs that were placed on the dwelling. So while there was no catastrophic injury, there was some injury that was caused, and part of the settlement was that we had to create this plan. And huge kudos to the staff that worked on this. Probably 10 people or so put it together, and it took months, literally months to get this ironed out. We did it last year for the bus services. This year we expanded it to be citywide. And then the documentary, which we will actually get our hands on sooner rather than later, we can put that on our website. It really kind of makes you proud to be from Liberal. So a lot of really great things in the last quarter. Those of us who are on staff kind of lose sight of what gets accomplished sometimes, because we finish a project, we move to the next one. We do a project, we move to the next one. We don't really look back and kind of reap the satisfaction of the job that these guys, men and women, do for us every day. Anyway, so I just wanted to add that to those first 2. You have anything? Okay.
So moving into some of the things that are currently in progress, our water line replacement project continues to move forward. We've got permits and some other things that we're waiting on to come through for different parts of the project, but that will be rolling forward and replacing different water lines throughout the city, just to make sure that our water infrastructure continues to stay updated, continuing to be able to provide clean water to our residents. We've continued to work on the comprehensive plan. We had a lot of activity in April and May with our comprehensive plan with public engagement activities. So we did have a community survey. We had nearly 700 people take that survey. Since then, our consultants that we've been working with to put together this professional plan for our future have been reviewing all the community feedback we received, not only from the survey, but also from public events that we attended, from focus groups that we had with people from throughout the community. We had hundreds of people participate in that, and we really do truly feel that our best plan is going to come from our citizens. And so we continue to work on that comprehensive plan. We will be seeing some more activities starting in September. We'll have another steering committee meeting to be able to look at some of the ideas that were generated based on the feedback that we had from our public engagement activities, but also from city planners who work on this stuff on a regular basis and can bring some ideas that match the ideas that were brought forth from the community. So that plan will continue to move through our next phase, and we look to have all of that wrapped up and out and available for the community to be able to review in January. So we appreciate everyone who's been a part of that process. We have a core team that continues to work hard every week and every month on reviewing things that are put forth for us. And so again, we really feel that it is a good process. We're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish so far. Our floodplain mapping, we continue to work on this as we needed to be able to really take a look and reassess our flood mapping, not just for stormwater management purposes, but also for making sure that we have an updated insurance risk map. So we will be pursuing and working through our lobbyist actually to work with FEMA so that we can get a letter of map revision. That's going to allow for a lot of things to change in terms of our development and where we can put what based on the new data and information that was put forth in that map. Our city website redesign, if you're familiar with our website, it's got very familiar graphics because those graphics are from a long time ago. So I started working on this a while back. We have updated portions of our website in terms of the content, but for the overall look of it, it still is the same. And so we are working with our website host company to be able to put forth some changes. We have some exciting new layouts, as well as we looked at our analytics closely to see what it was that people were looking for, what people were trying to find on our website, and we'll be able to float a lot of that information into much more visible sections of our website. We want to make it a lot easier to use because there's a lot of great information out there. And so we are hoping to have that by Christmas. We will see how that goes. They are currently working on the coding part of that, so we're looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like. And then we did, as a part of looking at our website and what people were looking for, we found that a lot of people were looking for the Mid-America Air Museum. They do not currently have their own website, and we felt that it was really important that people around the country who are looking to come here and take a look at our historical aircraft and learn more about our history, we wanted to make sure that we were putting that information out there. So one of our employees out at the Air Museum say, hey, well, what about a website? And that works perfectly for exactly what we're trying to do in terms of getting ourselves out there and promoting liberal and really attracting people to our community. So we are excited to see that moving forward as well.
Yeah, so the water line replacement, to be very candid with you, the staff really failed the public on this. This in late 21. The initial price tag of $4.4 million. We sat on it for 2 years. And when we finally got around to getting underway, the price tag had risen to 6.7. Fortunately, KDHE honored the original rate, which I believe is 1.8%, which if you've had to borrow money in the last 2 years, you know how incredible a 1.8% interest rate is. And the commission was gracious enough to allow us to increase the loan amount to meet the need. But it really was a short sight on my part, and so we wound up spending about a third more than we had originally planned. The comprehensive plan, I cannot overstate how important it is for the public engagement. The session that you see pictured there was the Spanish-speaking session that Ms. Fierro coordinated. Was absolutely the most beneficial of the, what do we do, five sessions that we did. We really struggled to get the Mexican and Guatemalan perspective on what they need from the city and what they want from their city. And the folks that attended that, I believe there were probably 7 or 8, provided more input and more valuable input, I think, in that hour plus that we spent with them than almost the rest of the sessions combined. So huge thank you to that, to Ms. Fierro, and then our partners at Wichita State and PEC for putting those things together. But please continue to engage with us on that. The floodplain mapping was an absolute disaster. The new FEMA maps had almost 80% of our land mass within the city limits in some type of floodplain. We spent a little over $200,000 to have a complete redo of the mapping. Banesh Engineering did an excellent job of providing really in-depth studies and stormwater and floodplain and just overall overall mapping, that if a developer looked at the FEMA map that they had proposed, they would turn around and walk away from Liberal because it looks like everything's underwater. Now, we've spent probably $6 million in the last 6 or 7 years to eradicate most of that. And these new maps, even though they were expensive, are reflective of the work that was done. And on the Air Museum, we need younger people interested in our aviation history. We not only is the website going up, we also reestablished the Air Museum Advisory Board. There's 2 members from the MAM Foundation, along with 7 citizens who volunteered at large. They've had 3 meetings so far. I think that we're going to make some pretty strong progress moving forward. We met last week, and I think we're finally going to do something with the FedEx plane that has been sitting there for 10 years. And so it's pretty exciting. We're looking at some redesigned stuff within the museum. And someone told me the other day, you go when you're in elementary school, and then you go when your kids are in elementary school on the field trip, and then most of us never go in there again. So getting people into our museum that are from here is going to be a priority as we move forward.
Some additional projects that we're working on are splash pad installations are going up at Mahurin Park as well as McRae. You can see that happening now. The company was able to come in last week and get started on those. We are anticipating that those will be open in September. We've had a lot of community enthusiasm around these, and we're excited to see them as well. We appreciate all the city staff who worked to get all the groundwork laid ahead of schedule to make sure we were ready to go on these. These splash pads are great because they are open all the time. They're not staffed. There's no need to staff them. And so families can go anytime the weather's good. They can stop by, use the splash pad. There will be some shaded areas for them to be able to spend some time there. And so we're excited to see those happening both at Mahurin and McRae Park. Solar energy installations for our city properties have continued. Right now, if you've driven on Country Estates, you've seen it is not a solar farm. That is our ground mount solar panels that are fueling and energizing our wastewater treatment plant out there. Uses a lot of energy, and so this was a great way to be able to offset operating costs over time. We did also do some installation at the fire department and the animal control building, all good areas where we're using energy all the time. We need to make sure that we are really looking for our opportunities to save there. We will be moving forward with the rec center as well as the police department after we do some additional roof work there. And so you'll see those continue to come online here in the next several months. We did recently announce we did get awarded the Public Art and Mural Grant from the Kansas Arts Commission, something that we're really excited about. We haven't gone after those dollars before, so to get that award this first time we applied was fantastic. This mural grant is going to allow us to create a large public mural. We're going to look to place it in Light Park facing Kansas Avenue. It will be highly, highly visible, and we're excited to start moving forward on that. A big component of that grant is public engagement, and so we will be reaching out into the community as we get started with this to come up with some different theme ideas. Overall, the vision is that we'll have the word liberal spelled out across our large canvas we're creating. We couldn't find a wall in town, so we made our own. So we're going to be working on getting that started. We'll be reaching out into the community. We'll be engaging schools. We'll be all over the place with that. And so you'll see that coming out. We'll look for ideas on different scenes that can be painted inside of each of the letters in the word liberal. So we're excited because we feel like that's something that will be a great way to showcase who we are, to help us with our identity, and to really show others as well what makes liberal great. So we'll be moving forward on that soon as they get all of that lined up. Once we have those different theme ideas created, we'll be working with a local artist, Kareem Gayo, and she will be coming up with several different versions that our public can then vote on as well. So that final design is what we'll move forward with being able to create. So it'll be illuminated at night. It's gonna be rather large. It's gonna be over kind of near the pool area. It will be up on a kind of a base that you can go up, take pictures with it. People can stop in, take photos. We think it'll be a really cool part of our community. We've heard a lot of people over the last couple of years state how much they want to see public art and murals in our community. So we're looking forward to that project too. Out at our Kalen Park, we're continuing to make some developments there. This is the first year that we'll have our Kalen Park open year-round. And so we have a lot of enthusiasm from people who wanted to do things into the fall, who are going to have that opportunity now to see our Kalen Park in all 4 seasons. We continue to work with our great advisory board there as well. We've had plans coming together for a gun range, which is going to be part public and part law enforcement. And so that'll be a good opportunity and a place to be able to offer that training for our police officers as well as sheriff's department. We are also looking at cabins to be able to make sure that for people who do want to stay year-round, there's a good opportunity for them to stay in an indoor space. We anticipate those cabins being highly utilized. There are not a lot of cabins out in Southwest Kansas, and so we've got a great place to put those. We think it'll be a great addition. So we're continuing to look at some of our different options to find a good footprint, find a good design that really makes sense for the space. And then our 2025 budget, we are continuing to work through that right now. You may have seen that we did file an intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate, known as R&R. Our goal is actually not to exceed the R&R. And so we do file that intent just because it gives our staff more time to be able to compile, work through our budget, have our budget sessions with our commission. I think there's a lot of confusion around that process because it has been new over the last few years. But know that our goal is really just to maximize what we're delivering with the funds that we do have. And so we want to make sure that we're being conscientious with that budget and really stretching our dollars as far as we can go with them.
So huge thank you to Steve Carroll for the splash pad work. He did all the vetting of the companies. Tell you, there's nothing more frustrating than a poorly built splash. Previously tried to cut corners and it just caused nothing but a disaster. So I'm very confident in the research that Steve did and the work that the firm from Houston, they arrived last week to get to work. And we are still targeting late September, early October? Early September to open those up. We caught some flack on the solar installation. What's important to remember about that is it enables us to check the green box on grant applications. There's a lot of federal money that's floating about. The problem is that most of that money is geared toward cities with populations below 10,000 or over 50,000. So communities like ours that are right around 20, when we go after something, it's extremely competitive. And the more check marks we have on our side, the better. So while it is us being environmentally conscious, it was also a financial component to our decision to move forward with that program. And as far as the arts go, I don't think a community can really be rounded out without some presence from the arts, whether it be the Rainbow Players, the symphony, the concert series, the art classes that Kareem teaches, or with these murals. You go like downtown Salina, it's just gorgeous. I think anything that has a wall has got something painted on it. So just a great look for our town. Arcalen was another one that we pumped the brakes on about 2 years ago. 3 or 4 months ago, we decided that it was no longer interesting, that it was now important, and we put a full-time employee out there to oversee the operations. That gun range, provided we hadn't got the price tag yet, will be an amazing upgrade for our citizens. What we have now is pretty pedestrian, and it's an extreme hassle to get in there, and then people misuse it because it's not monitored. This one will be fully monitored. We'll have operational hours, and I think that the cabins will be a great addition, and we're going to look for the more economical cabins to begin with for a proof of principle to see just how often they get used. But I think between those two things, and then the Arcalen board does a nice job of bringing ideas and being supportive and flexible. There's some decisions that we've had to make, or that we're going to have to make, that are contrary to the history of the park, but it's going to be a better product for our citizens, and I think that everyone will enjoy it once it's done. And as Keely said, the notice to exceed, literally what it does is it gives us about an additional 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, to work on our budget, to refine it. I've often said it's not our job to save tax dollars, it's to spend them better. And to have that additional 8 weeks up to October 1st to submit our budget to the state gives us much more flexibility and much more time to be extremely careful about how we employ the resources that get entrusted to us. And it is still the goal, I hate saying this, it is still the goal to lower the mill levy from what it is this year. Some of the other entities are going to have to raise theirs because they've got some shortfalls. We're going to try to do our part to be good stewards to the citizens as a whole and lower the impact of what it is that we tax folks for. On that, I got a graphic today, just in case anybody was wondering. I get most of you aren't, but anyway, in case you are, for every tax dollar, property tax dollar, the city gets 29 cents. Seward County gets 23.5. USD 480 gets 27%, and the college gets about 19% or 19 cents. So, despite the percentages, the city still levies the least amount of tax dollars of any entity within the county. We are tasked to do more with less. I'm really proud of the work the staff does to not shortchange the public, but to be very efficient and good stewards of the resources. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to work. I think as of our last budget session that we had trimmed the initial request down by about $700,000. So this year our general fund budget's $21.8 million, about $57 million total with our enterprise funds, the water, wastewater, and the special funds. We would like to get that general fund number down under 20. So it's a pretty tall order. And And I've also said fiscal responsibility is doing the right project at the right time at the right price. So we've got to be smart about what it is we cut, but we're going to do our very best to be as efficient as possible.
Moving on to some of our future projects. Some of these are near future, some of these are a little bit more distant in the future. But our rec center roof is going to be replaced here very, very soon, probably within a couple of weeks. We did time that out so that we replaced it during a time of the year when there's not going to be as large of an impact to closing that gym. This is something that was needed already, but will also be done, and then we'll be able to install our solar panels on top of the rec center. So you'll see that moving forward in the next couple of weeks. Western Avenue chip seal. So we did not initially plan to do Western Avenue chip seal this year. However, looking at the condition of the road and what the needs were of the community, we felt it was important to get that added to this year. And so we have continued to work on different ways to be able to make that work faster. However, we've run into a couple limitations. So we will begin this project the third week of August,
The 12th.
August the 12th. We know that's very close to when school starts, and we know that it's going to have an impact. We want to make sure people understand and are aware that we do have extreme difficulty being able to get asphalt. And so because of that problem, it's really been a delay on our project, stuff that's outside of our hands. The other part of this is the contractor's limitations. Here in Southwest Kansas, there's really truly only one company that's doing this type of work, and they're promised all over the place on different projects already. And so due to those two factors, we did have to move this to starting in August on the 12th. We do have to have 30 days of settling once the chip seal is done to be able to work that into the pavement surface. And so while it's not ideal to have this happening as school's starting, it is where we're at right now, and we're going to work to get that done as soon as we can so that we can then move forward and be able to get our crosswalks painted, do our striping that's needed, and again, make sure that that road is left in a better state because of our investments made this year. So again, it's not ideal in terms of the timing, but it is something that needs done. So we just want everyone to understand that. If you do live along that area, you should be getting door hangers soon on your door. And notices will be going out for the affected areas to make sure that we have residents parking off of the street so that the project can move forward on time. So we do encourage everyone to please heed that warning. We do not want to have to tow cars away. So pickleball court installations are going to start in September. Pickleball is a big deal in the community, and we have a lot of requests for pickleball. And so we are putting these courts in September at Bluebonnet Park. We went out to bid for this, and what we received was extremely high. And so as we complete some of our other projects, we'll be able to move staff over to do that ourselves and save quite a bit of money doing those. And so that is going to be 4 courts over again at Bluebonnet Park that we'll be putting in. As Rusty mentioned earlier, we are looking to be able to do some clubhouse renovations as well as some additions to the golf course. So you'll see that coming along. We're looking to get that budgeted for 2025. An additional gymnasium, this continues to be a topic that we look at. We have gone out for some estimates. It's part of a larger community conversation that we need to have with other entities to make sure that anything that we build is going to be used wisely within the community while meeting the need. As we've continued to build our sports tourism programs and been able to attract a lot of people into town, that requires space to do so. And so we're looking for a good solution of being able to make sure that we have the space that's needed to continue to offer those programs, because we do know we've got a young population that's used very often. So we want to make sure that we're meeting that need. We will be moving to online permits and licenses in the future. This is a conversion that we're still working on through our building department. That would allow for online licensing for a building and some other types of permits within the city. Just makes it easier for everyone. Right now, you've got to go into City Hall and start doing your paperwork by hand. This will be a much smoother process, and so we look forward to being able to get that rolling in the near future. We do continue to get a lot of questions about our community dog park, as we've been working on pickleball courts, and we'll be working on splash pads, and we've got projects here and there. We'll be looking to get some of those wrapped up before we then move forward with our dog park that is planned. The location is going to be really here near the rec center, if you're familiar with where Pershing meets Pine Street. It'll be in that area of our property. Looking to have it designed in a way that we've got an area for larger dogs, an area for smaller dogs, but making sure that, we're really creating a nice place, a nice, safe place for everyone to come and bring their pets. So we're excited to have that rolling forward soon as well. And then our bus transit facility, this has been a need for a long time. Currently, our bus office is housed within City Hall. We park our buses in the City Hall parking lot. We have them lining up and doing their interchange along the street between the different bus routes as you move from one bus color to another bus color. And so we're really looking for a better way to be able to do that and to have space for people to come in. They can sit down on hot days like today and have a cool place to be able to wait while they're waiting for their bus to come. And so this is funding from federal as well as KDOT sources to be able to help with that. So this facility will be constructed and built near 4th Street and New York Avenue. So just a short ways away from City Hall. But we know that that's a much needed facility. We do serve a lot of passengers on our city bus. So we're excited to get that moving forward as well. Anything else?
No, but the pickleball court was a great example of what I said before about the right project at the right time at the right price. And it was the right time, just the price was wrong. And saved the $30,000. That bus facility was awarded to the city, I believe, in 2020. KDOT has finally started movement. We met with the architects last week. Hopefully, it'll go out to bid within the next 60 days, and just a much better facility, not just for the buses, but for the security of the buses. We had 3 catalytic converters stolen over the summer in City Hall parking lot. They moved the cameras so we couldn't see them, but we detected it took them about 3 minutes to get in and out with our converters. So this will secure our buses at night and be better overall for the drivers as well as the community as a whole.
Okay, so that moves us forward into questions and discussion. So at this time, we'd ask if you have a comment that you would like to share with staff and the commission to let us know. We do have a microphone so that those who are watching are able to hear the questions, and so we would ask that you use that. So we want to get a couple questions answered. Please feel free to raise your hand and I can pass the microphone.
There was one upcoming project that wasn't on the list, and that's the remodel of the depot. Steve has been going through that. We did the Greer House 2 years ago. I think that the depot's in worse shape than the Greer House was, so it's going to be a pretty costly expense, but maintaining those historic buildings are important, and doing it correctly is important. So that's also on the radar.
Question?
Regarding the cabins, who's going to be renting them? What audience?
So whether it's somebody who wants to get away from town for a weekend, or we have a large population of folks that go from Arizona to Minnesota back and forth. And some have campers and some just are driving through, and to give us another option for them outside of motels. And also we have a huge bird watching contingent from around the state and I guess around the region that come in. So it'll also be a nice addition for them, for those, especially those who come from K-State to do their, I don't know, Lydia can tell you what the K-Staters do when they come here, but to observe our wildlife. But that's the audience primarily, is both outsiders, but some who are inside the county that just want to get away and there's no cell phone signal for a few days. And
what about price range? Is it going to be accessible to anyone, or is
Yes.
it?
All right, Lydia.
Any thoughts on improving the look of Pancake Avenue?
So that is always difficult. We have the facade grant, which the commission doubled, which now goes up to 20,000 and allows for horizontal and vertical improvements. It's just really difficult for us to go, well, I don't care if it's your house or your business, and if you're meeting code, for me to tell you that it looks bad and we want you to make it look better. And we can't mandate that somebody spends money to make their place look better, as much as we would like it. Now, one thing that we have toyed with in the past, and we're gonna talk more about during the budget session, is the cost share program that we used to have for sidewalks, where the property owner would buy the materials and we would provide the labor, bringing that program back, because I think that most of the needs from the pedestrian needs study from 2019 have been filled, but there's still a lot of areas, Pancake being one of them, that are not as walkable as we probably need it to be.
Other questions?
On the chip seal plan, is it the entire length of Western? And if so, how long of a time?
Is it the whole thing or just 15th Street to?
So we're doing 15th Street south to the railroad tracks. And because our materials on the airport, our main project is Northeast Liberal. So they will get that done. And then Western will be the last thing to chip seal. And the whole project should last 8 to 10 days. They'll probably do Western in 1 day.
Yeah, so what we've traditionally done is put stuff off until it's so broken that it costs twice as much to fix as it would have if we would just addressed it, and that's what happened with Western. It was on the list, I think, for 2 years from now, and 2 years from now it's going to be significantly degraded. So the commission was gracious enough to allow us to expand already we made a pretty substantial financial investment in chip seal the last 2 years to get us back on the 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 cycle. But to even go beyond that, we used to budget about $270,000 a year. I think the last 2 years we spent over $1 million, and I would imagine the same thing for 2025 to take care of our streets.
Any other questions? Okay, there will be opportunity later tonight. If you think of something along the way to be able to ask another question, we'll be available. So at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and move forward into our listening session for the railroad crossing grant that we're working on. So the railroad crossing project is something that we have talked about trains for a long time. But until just over a year ago, there hadn't been a lot of activity on finding a solution. And so seeing the needs that we had, we reached out to a company just to do some looking around at our environment and to start dreaming up some ideas on what we could do. So as we saw the cost estimates come in for those potential concepts, we knew that there was going to be a need to pursue some federal funds for that. And so about a year ago, we found a grant that fit us perfectly. It's called the Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant. And so this is an 80% federal match. And with that grant, it looks at the elimination of an at-grade crossing. So an at-grade crossing is where you have a road or highway that is intersected by a railroad. And so we are really confident that our project would be a really good candidate for this. So with the elimination of an at-grade crossing, the fund also allows us to fund the construction of what we call a grade separation, which is either an overpass or an underpass for the railroad. And so what we'll be looking at with this is project development activities. We have been doing public engagement here recently. We put a survey out into the community, and within the first 24 hours, we had 500 responses. which is fantastic. That's exactly what we need. We've had about 640 responses so far. And so really the grant requires us to, again, look at crossing elimination. It funds our ability to create a separation, but it's going to require us to take a really close look at our options. Because it's a federal grant, there are a lot of different check boxes that we have to meet. And so it has to improve safety and the mobility of both people and goods. It has to support multimodal transportation, which would be not just vehicles, but commercial traffic, as well as pedestrians and people who are using other means of transportation. It is something that has to look at the impacts on different residents throughout the community and to take a close look at what their needs are specifically so that we can make sure that we are addressing the needs that are there. It needs to be able to support community connectivity and access. We know that when people can't get across town easily, fewer and fewer people become interested in going across town to that location or that business, and being able to support our local economy is a big part of this as well. We do have a component of that they want to look at, it's the federal government, again, they want to look at the ability to reduce emissions and make sure that there's a plan in place that is able to help draw down on the idling that you see, especially from those large commercial trucks that we have stopped for long periods of time. So we have to prove a lot of different points with this grant. And so what we're looking at with our application is to be able to do development activities. So this is not our construction grant yet. That would be the next step. So what we're working on currently is for development. It looks at being able to cover the costs of surveying, which is fairly high, working with those entities, the Union Pacific Railroad, as well as possibly KDOT and other entities, to take a look at the site plans and to be able to have them do engineering reviews of the different concepts. There are environmental reviews that are part of that, and they look at, what does the watershed look like? What historical or cultural amenities in the area would be possibly impacted by a build? What's the impact on the community itself and possibly the residents that live in that area who are gonna be there as part of the construction process and have their lives changed? So there's a lot of different things that we look at there, but overall, at this point in time, we're at the point where we're doing a lot of public engagement because it's gonna allow us to support our grant itself. It's gonna make it a lot stronger of an application. So at this point in time, we wanna be able to, we've got pretty good size here. It's a very intimate audience here in the room. We've got people online, I'm sure, watching as well. So what we wanna do is we'll pass around just some pages to be able to take notes on. You're welcome to work with a partner if you came with a partner. We're gonna ask a series of questions just to get a baseline for what it is that you need and how blocked train crossings have affected you. So pick a partner. I'll pass these around. And we'll do just a short series of questions. You'll be able to share your feedback as well. If you'd like to take one and pass it around. Others. You've got to turn the right way. Mm-hmm. Just one.
Of course.
You can share. All right, so on this page here, you've got numbers 1 through 4. We're gonna walk through a couple of different scenarios. And so what we wanna do with that first question, we'll give you some time to work with your partner on this, is to identify what are 2 barriers caused by blocked train crossings in our community. List the top 2 that you think impact us the most. The second question is, what lifestyle changes have you personally made because of blocked train crossings? Changes to your daily habits to be able to live with the impact of blocked train crossings. And then our third question will be, what are your top safety concerns when it comes to blocked railroad crossings? So we'll give you a couple minutes, work with your partner, discuss, and then we'll call on a couple of people to share their thoughts.
Yeah, 5 years, we're gonna go, why didn't we do something? Kelly asked me, and I think I told him correctly. The state surrenders a portion of their 6.5. Right. So, yeah, there's no additional taxes, that's what I told him, everything came out of the 9.25. Right. Which is really only comes out of the 6.5. Right. And that'll enable you to tackle that. Tell you too, that if you're under 50,000, properties that you loop into this thing don't have to be contiguous. We could essentially loop into a new one. Okay. Kelly asked me that too. I told him no, I thought that, not the revenue, as far as we have. Maybe a lot of them need to learn about this, but like I talked, never feel all of it. But it's a perfect opportunity to do that and have somebody else pay for it. I think I'm gonna, no, I'm going ahead.
Didn't get any this year, you know that, right? You should be able to.
So for two barriers caused by blocked crossings, how do they affect the community itself? Does it affect our ability to get from point A to point B? Does it affect the ability for businesses to attract customers? Does it affect our daily schedules in the way that we, drop off our kids for school, pick them up from daycare on the other side of town, our ability to get to work on time, to get to appointments on time? What are some of the barriers that are created? We'll give you another minute or so to wrap up. Okay, looks like everyone in the audience is pretty well through their list. So we want to make this a discussion, and so I'm going to allow you all to share your grievances about blocked train crossings. I'll pass the microphone around, and anyone who wants to share maybe their answer to that first question.
I'm sure that probably others had said the same thing, but I don't live in town, although business is in town. But getting to work on time for people that have to drive, from the north to the south or the south to the north, or even going, a lot of people come in from out of town to get to work at National Beef. And, 8th Street will be blocked, Main Street will be blocked, and Pershing Avenue will be blocked too. So getting to work on time or getting the kids to school on time too is an issue there.
Okay. Anyone else have other barriers they want to share?
Emergency vehicles, especially the ambulances. So we thought about that. And then annoyed citizens that post things online I just, yeah, and give liberal a bad name because, oh, I had to wait for 20 minutes and blah, blah, blah. So, anyway.
Anyone else want to share?
It would be gas and time that's waiting, just sitting there waiting, doing nothing, so.
Do you all want to share?
Well, it makes travelers very angry, and I hear a lot about it from people come in the depot and telling me how frustrated they are. And then traffic backs up, and it causes people to kind of drive wildly to get around before somebody else does. Makes traffic a mess.
All right. That second question, what are some of the lifestyle changes that you've made to become accustomed to the train schedule? I suppose. What are some things that you have done personally to be able to get where you need to go on time?
We decided we find ourselves not shopping in the opposite area of where we live or work. You know, you just tend to go, well, I'm not going to go down there because I'll probably get stuck. And
Anyone else want to share? Anything different? Okay.
Just making it a point to use the bridge on Country Estates, as the train's always blocked.
Okay. So maybe driving further out of your way than you need to. Okay. Anyone else have anything different? Okay.
Just kind of saying, but avoiding Main Street. And so that affects your downtown businesses there as well. And then for me, driving around to find a location that is open so that I can get home, which is, 15 miles east. And from where I'm at, a lot of times I'll head out 8th Street and then get out there and I can see the trains down there and I have to turn around at National Beef, go back up Country Estates, now Sally Road or something. So it's just time. And so I have to remember, okay, when I'm leaving, it's about this time, so I know that train's going to be there, so go out the other way. So just the drive time going home, and I want to get home. Roselle mentioned that you have people that are frustrated and they're trying to back out of the space that they're in and turn around and go out another direction, and you've got road rage or whatever there. So, and the time that the locations are actually blocked. It's not just a few minutes, sometimes they sit there, and even out where I live on Road O, that location will be blocked there for a long time, more than 30 minutes or so, as they're waiting for, I don't know all of the dynamics of that, but a train will park there waiting for the other trains to go. And so if you don't know how to get around them and to get where you need to go, and they already mentioned, and the safety concerns was on 3, but they just mentioned that too, so it kind of affects all of them. But for your emergency vehicles, police, fire, and the overpass is busy too. You've got the National Beef people there, and it's sometimes hard to get out onto the overpass as well to do that. So.
We'll go ahead and go into question number 3. You kind of covered some of that. We'll go to question number 3, safety concerns. Same. Yeah. Anything else to add?
Also, people walking on and on the tracks. We see that a lot. So it's kind of scary when you know there's a train coming.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Does your group have anything different?
Sort of different. It's not only the emergency vehicles, but just people might have emergencies that they need to get from one side of town to the other.
All right, very good. Thank you all for sharing. We'll talk about a few different things that we consider when we are looking at locations. Now that we've got kind of a baseline of what the concerns are. So as we said, we started looking at project locations, and there's a lot of different considerations that we as a city have to make. One of those first questions, and something that we hear often, is, well, why do we talk about an overpass? Why not try an underpass? We talked a little bit about flood zone maps earlier, but when you look at the topography of Liberal and our ability to, cut through a different surface elevation, we're really pretty flat. And so the issue that would probably be created in that instance is we would have to spend a lot on infrastructure to be able to pump out any water that does begin to fill. A couple of the areas that we've looked at, Pershing Avenue as well as Western Avenue. Pershing is near a retention pond area for drainage. So being able to make sure that our stormwater is going where it needs to go is one of those considerations. We also, again, through this grant, but also just in general, want to make sure that we're selecting a location that is going to have really the least impact on the residents already there. We want to make sure that we're maximizing everyone's needs the best that we can. We want to look at those who are underserved populations and making sure that we are hearing the voices of everyone in the room. We need to look at again, the existing infrastructure, what's currently there for land, what was maybe perhaps planned to be used in that land area. So we look at that. We observe the different traffic patterns, look at the congestion, we look at the distances from alternative routes in terms of helping commuters get where they're trying to go. We look at the safety risks that are already present when we look at being able to select a site. There's advantages, obviously, to putting an overpass somewhere, but what's going to provide the best benefit in terms of the surrounding environment as well. We know different intersections have different types of dangers depending on the location, roadway speeds, the utilization of that actual roadway. So those are the things that we look at as well. Then we look at feasibility of the actual concepts. Is this something that we can realistically see happening and being built? Now with this grant, it's important to note that cost isn't necessarily the driving factor. When it comes to federal grants, really the best option is the one that's going to serve the community best. And so we don't make that decision necessarily based on the price tag, but we want to make sure, again, it's meeting the best available. Again, we look at some of the environment around it. What's the surrounding infrastructure look like? If you build an overpass on a roadway that maybe doesn't see that much traffic currently, what's the impact going to be on that roadway as well? We want to look at the impact on traffic patterns, not just at that intersection, but what it's able to do for the current overpass that we have in terms of limiting the amount of congestion perhaps that is sent to that crossing area. We know that Highway 83, Highway 54 intersection is already busy. And so we want to make sure that any alternative that we put out there is going to be well used so that we can reduce some of the stress that we have on that current infrastructure as well. And then we're also going to look at what's the impact of construction. There's noise associated with construction, there's detours needed. We want to make sure that construction as it occurs is happening in a way that is providing minimal impact on residents, businesses, and others that are in the area. So a whole lot of factors go into making this type of a decision. And so as you consider some of those things as well, we want to be able to have you look at this problem from a different perspective. I think many of us in the room have talked about driving, but there are other considerations when it comes to our population. If you look at our demographics, about 12% of households on the south side of the train tracks in Liberal do not have a vehicle at their residence. There are different considerations that we want to make in terms of where are the community resources located and who's having a difficult time reaching those destinations. And so we'll flip one more question on you all, and then we'll go into a different part of the discussion. So the scenario would be putting yourself in someone's shoes. You use a mobile scooter as your main form of transportation. What are some of the location placement as well as those design features that would be most important to you? I'll give you a few minutes to answer that question with your partner. So in terms of location, what we want to consider is really what's the proximity to where people are perhaps living? What is the location near? So if you're looking at an intersection, what else is in the area that, you know, if you're traveling in a motor scooter, what's the length that you're needing to go to reach that crossing, that overpass? Just what would be important to you in terms of where that's put? Does it need to be central in town? Does it need to be a place you can easily get around town to get to a different, you know, does it need to be residences? Does it need to be near businesses or schools? What matters most to you in terms of the placement where it's located? Have you got options to go on the outside of town? You've got options to go through the middle of town. The location may affect the incline of the actual overpass. So those are considerations that you would look to make as well. Okay. Mm-hmm.
No, so, so what the question gets at is based on, so like, right now we have two concepts, one on Pershing and one on Western. So, imagining that your only mode of transportation is a scooter. And then, one of the designs had yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and start in this back corner over here. I know this is a difficult question because we're so used to seeing this through our normal lens. So did you have anything to share?
I think as far as a mobile scooter or a small transport like that, you want something close to the middle of town. I mean, if you go to Western Street to go from south side to north side, I'm not going to want to go down all the way out to Western to get across. So it's got to be somewhere in the middle of town and have that lane for it because it's going to be a slower vehicle. And I guess I'm thinking, when you think mobile scooter, I'm thinking of a 90-year-old person in their little three-wheeler. You got to have a spot for them. You know, if they're talking about a motorcycle, then they got space with us.
Yeah. Okay. Do you all have anything?
Yeah, we had thought about the grade, just getting up to it, and we hate the thought of wiping out houses on Pershing, but to be central would make more sense, and to have a bike lane of some sort. So,
Okay. Do you guys have anything?
No, we the same. We thought like maybe Clay Road, since it's a little bit wider, and it's not too far off like Western, and also having a road designated specifically for like scooters and smaller motor vehicles.
All right. Last group here, did you have anything to share? Anything different?
Just a ditto on some of them, but central location, so Pershing Avenue. Yeah, you don't like to wipe out the residences, but that's kind of an older area. South of the railroad tracks, there at Pershing, you have the elevators, and it's vacant over on that other side. And honestly, there's some houses that need to go away in that area. But it does displace the people. But I know that that they are compensated for that when you have eminent domain. So the grade would be important, because if you've got a little motor scooter or something, or even a bicycle, we are familiar with a lot of people that their mode of transportation is the bicycle or electric bicycle. So that would be kind of hard. And a lane that is safe for them, for whether it's a motor scooter. We've got a couple of people that have the 3-wheel bicycles, and that's the way they travel all the way across town. So it would be nice. The central location would be good. You're a few blocks away from Main Street shopping. You might be a little better access if you need to get to the hospital or that. So that's my thoughts.
All right. You all have been wonderful. It is difficult. I've spent a lot of time looking at this issue, and I still don't know the right answer, because it really does depend on who we're serving and really their life circumstances. So we appreciate you for doing that. I'll collect those papers towards the end. We'll include that feedback as part of our grant. It puts us in a really good position to be able to show some of the discussions that we've been having and the considerations that have been brought forth from the community. So before we go into our last activity, just want to touch on a couple of different ways to help. If you haven't already taken our crossing survey, it's available on our website. You can find it on our social media as well. This survey is going to look at what are your needs, what are some of the concerns that you have, and then what are some preferences or other factors that you want to share with us. There's an area where you can share a story about maybe an experience that you've had at a blocked crossing, as well as additional things that you want us to be considering. So you can write those answers in on that as well. It's very short, takes about 5 minutes, but again, a lot of community participation in that survey is very helpful. And it is open through September the 3rd. We also want you to share this information, have these discussions, and continue these discussions out in the community. The more people that know that we're looking to address this issue, the better we'll have responses from other members of the community who we maybe don't hear from very often. And then finally, we are collecting letters of support. We've reached out to several different people from within the community, but if you're a community group, an organization, part of a neighborhood group that you would like to submit a letter of support on, you can submit that to me, and we'll include that in our application as well. So we'll move into the end of our streaming, our live stream here, because this next activity will be getting up and taking a look at some of the concept designs that we have so far. So you'll be able to take a look, discuss, provide some written feedback on those. But if you're out in the audience online and you are looking for more information about this, my contact information is on there. Please feel free to reach out. You can also message us on social media, and we can get back with you on some of the different questions that you might have. Again, we appreciate everyone who joined us online and is watching after. And we'll move into the last portion here for our group that's here.